From first hunts to lifelong traditions, we're here to honor the heritage, hear the passion, and connect through the stories that make us all hunters. Grab your gear, find your stand, and listen in as we share another journey that shapes a hunter's legacy. This episode is brought to you by Logic Hunt, an app designed for the future of hunting, helping you prepare with purpose and pursue with precision. What's going on, man?
What's up, dude?
Nice to have you on here. I don't think we've ever officially talked before.
No,
Just getting
never.
on here.
Yeah, never, not at all. I appreciate it. It'll be good. It'll be a good, just winding down hunting season, man.
I hear you. You do much turkey season?
I did, yeah. I've actually just getting back in the swing of work. I just spent a week in Oklahoma turkey hunting, so just getting back from that. So yeah, it was a long trip, but a very fun trip out there.
Took some time off work?
Yeah. I took some time off work and actually traveled out to western Oklahoma and I did some turkey hunting out there and was actually able to harvest my first Rios. So I'm halfway to a grand slam right now. So
Really?
yeah. Really, we had a whole lot of fun. Me and two of my buddies went out there, had a whole lot of fun.
Have you gotten the turkey from Florida yet?
Yeah, yeah. The one you see kind of right there, you can kind of see it over my head a little bit. Let me move my phone. The one you can kind of see right there, that's actually was a thing right there. Yeah, that's actually the first turkey I ever killed down here in Florida. So that's an Eastern. I got another one last year, then I was able to harvest a Rio this year. So
Which one's the hardest to kill so far?
man, there is nothing harder to me than a public land Eastern turkey.
Really?
So pressured down here, so much hunting pressure. I would say that it's way difficult to kill one of those Easterns. The Rios first time out there, man, and I got one and my buddy got one, so we were able to shoot two in 5 days. They definitely are a completely different breed of turkey than anything I've ever hunted, but it was a whole lot of fun, just a whole lot of fun.
That's what we got in Iowa. I thought they were dumber than hell.
Our Easterns down here and our birds down here are just so pressured. We just have so much pressure down here on our public land, so yeah, they're just difficult.
I've always heard the Osceola. I always heard they're the toughest to kill.
Yeah, I've never been that far south. They're like Okeechobee South, way down there. I mean, being from up here in Northwest Florida, we don't have those up here, but we definitely do get a lot of hunting pressure. So, but I want to go after Osceola, and I'm already kind of planning a Merriam hunt for next year. Me and my buddy of mine are already got it talking. So we'll see where the year takes us next year. But it's looking like New Mexico or Montana is where we're thinking about next year. So we'll definitely see.
Awesome. So, yeah, before we get rolling,
Mhm.
we got Josh here. So,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of reaching out to people on Facebook, trying to get somebody from every state. So, Josh, if you would share a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do for work, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Josh Grace. I'm originally from a little bitty small town called Niceville, Florida. And if anybody's never seen that, if you've heard of Destin, Florida, where everyone goes to the beach in Northwest Florida, Destin, Florida, Panama City, Pensacola, that area. So I'm actually from Niceville, Florida, and it's the town you drive through to get to Destin, Florida, to get to the beach. It's right across the bay from Destin. So that's where I'm originally from. I graduated from there, and I've actually been working as a cop. I'm actually working law enforcement. I've been in law enforcement for the past 16 years. My current job is I'm our major of patrol at the town in Crestview, Florida, where I work at now, and I've been there for 16 years. I supervise our patrol division, our SWAT team, and that's my day to day is kind of making sure those divisions run smoothly. But I've had the fortunate opportunity to do that for 16 years. I got married to my wife 11 years ago, and she moved me up here to a little town called Florella, Alabama, which is right over the state line. So I'm about 25, 30, 40 miles north of my hometown in Niceville. I'm just right over the state line in Alabama. That's kind of me and where I'm from and what I do for work that's me.
So, tell us a little bit about your job. So, how'd you get started in law enforcement? What drives your day-to-day excitement or the fire behind what you're doing?
I started out after high school. I was building houses and doing construction work, and kind of just knew that wasn't for me. My father was he was a supervisor of a grounds department at a college down in Niceville, and my mom was she was a secretary for a realty company. I had no family that was in law enforcement. It was kind of one of those things where I watched cops and just thought it'd be a cool job and really wanted to try to get into a profession to help people. So in 2008, I went to the academy. I went to the nighttime academy, which is I built houses and worked during the day, and I went to the academy at night until like 10 o'clock at night. And I did that for a whole year. And eventually I got a job with the Crestview Police Department, which I still currently am in 2009. And I've had the real fortunate opportunity since I've been working there to kind of do pretty much everything from, regular uniform patrol to investigation to narcotics work. I've been with our SWAT team for 12 years now. I've kind of risen up the ranks as far as what I get to do, where now I'm in the executive leadership and administration, where I kind of get to supervise those people and kind of build up the next generation, the next group of people that are coming up. So I get my day to day right now pretty much consists of a lot of administrative stuff. Some people see it boring. I sit in the office a lot. I don't really get to go out and do the fun stuff anymore that you see, the running and chasing and arresting bad guys and putting people away and stuff like that. But I get to really provide for the next group of people and make sure that they have all the tools and everything they need to do their job well. So that's kind of my job pretty much on a daily basis right now.
That's pretty awesome. Definitely appreciate what you do.
I
I know there's
appreciate
a
it.
lot of people out there that probably don't, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that's probably the rough part of the job. But
Yeah.
out of all the things you've done so far in law enforcement, what sector has been your favorite? I know things can change as you grow older. Maybe you get a
Yeah.
family, so work-life balance
Yeah.
affects that. But just flat out, what's your favorite thing you've gotten to do?
My favorite thing I've ever gotten to do, and I kind of spent half of my career doing it, fortunately, was working in investigations work, whether it was being an investigator or being a supervisor of our investigations division. It's kind of getting to use your head. You get to think in and try to outsmart people. And it's not just the day to day kind of gets mundane of responding to calls and just going call to call to call and answering people's calls, which is important and very fun. But being able to sit down and kind of spend time with victims and really work on solving their cases. It was always intriguing to me, and I really, really enjoyed it, even when I promoted and got to be a sergeant, and I still got to spend my time supervising that division. So that's probably been my most favorite. I'm getting back into patrol. I just got promoted probably 2 months ago, and I'm getting back into patrol. I'm sorry if you can hear the background. I got my dogs or won't go away. So if you hear them bumping around, that's what they're doing. But
I see him head bobbing behind you.
yeah, they're right here. They normally go away. So, but yeah, getting to supervise the investigations division and doing all that was probably one of my most favorite. But yeah, right now I'm back with uniform patrol and trying to get back into the swing of those things. So it's all been really fun.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I thought for sure you're going to say the narcotics.
I tell you what, it's a lot of work, but there's a lot that goes into it that people don't realize. People think it's just go out and do this or go out and catch drug dealers. And it is, but there's so much that goes into it on the front side of it before you can even go out and do that stuff. Kind of gets to be a headache after a while when you really get into those things.
Well, cool. Definitely appreciate you sharing that. That's something I want to get with all my guests. It doesn't have to be about hunting. Everybody has life outside of hunting. How does hunting revolve around life? Hunting isn't the primary focus for a lot of people, so I appreciate you sharing that.
Funny story actually is that I initially wanted to be a game warden, like everybody that probably hunts and wants to get into law enforcement. Hey, I want to go be a game warden and just ride on the boat and ride in the woods all day long. But my mentality behind not doing that after I thought about it was hunting is my release. It's my way to de-stress and kind of shut off the world and everything that we deal with. And I thought to myself, if I have to spend all my days at work outside in the woods, would I love it and would I want to go there when I'm off work? Because I've had to do it for 3 hours a week. So would I then want to go do it? And my answer to myself, and I really thought about that, was no, I don't, because I want hunting and fishing to be my escape and to be just a de-stress from life and from work and things like that. So while it sounded like a cool job, I actually chose not to do that because I didn't want it to take away from how much I loved hunting.
Yeah, that's a great point. Hunting shouldn't feel like a job. It should
Yeah,
feel like
absolutely.
an escape. How long have you been hunting and how'd you get started?
So pretty much like any of my friends and any of my kids, man, it was just through my dad. My dad hunted his whole life. I remember being a kid and I would hear him get up in the morning and my house, my parents' house when I was growing up was always the gathering place. My dad had 3 or 4 buddies that he always hunted with every year. Right around Thanksgiving time, they would start, and every morning at like 4 o'clock, they would start showing up. I'd have 4 or 5 of his friends at the house, and I would hear them. I'd be asleep, or I'd pretend to be asleep, and I would be in there hearing them talking about we're going to go here and you're going to go here to this spot, and they would all leave and go out for the day, and then they'd come back at lunchtime, and I'd get to hear stories of we saw this deer, or this deer got away, or whatever, and they would leave and go back in the afternoon, and I remembered that growing up, I always wanted to go hunting. It's all I wanted to do was just go hunting with my dad. I wanted to leave out with him early in the morning and go. So he would take me when I was little. He would take me and we'd sit beside a tree or whatever. But I was just kind of too young to really, really, really get into it. I was just more tagging along. Whenever I was able to, he finally started taking me probably, around 9, 10 years old, and really got into it through him. So, but yeah, it was 100% my dad, and 100% just him being a hunter.
Sorry, I had to write down a song. The way you worded it, you post these social media clips and try finding music, and you saying that instantly the Rodney Atkins song popped into my head,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
just like Dad.
Absolutely.
It's so true.
Yeah.
That's how most people get started. Was he bow hunting, gun hunting?
So no, no, actually, all my dad did was hunt with a shotgun. He hunted with a Remington 12 gauge shotgun. Never bow hunted. Still has never bow hunted. He's still alive and kicking, but he just doesn't hunt anymore. He just listens to all my stories. Always hunted with a Remington shotgun. Never bow hunted whatsoever. Never turkey hunted whatsoever. Was just always deer hunting with a shotgun and a muzzleloader. He had a CVA Woodstock muzzleloader that we hunted with when the season was in. That was his two weapons that he hunted with all the time. I was the one that kind of ventured out to the bow hunting and the turkey hunting and things like that. He just never really, that wasn't really his thing.
What drove you to get started with the bow hunting? Buddies?
It's actually a really great story. So I'm 100% a public land hunter. I can say that except for 5 or 6 times, maybe I've never hunted on private land ever. I grew up hunting. If anyone, when they listen to your podcast, they're going to realize probably where I'm talking about. I won't name the name, but there's a big military reservation around where I grew up that we've hunted on and I still hunt on to this day. Well, when 9/11 happened, the military reservation actually put out a thing that said there would be no deer hunting on the reservation whatsoever. They were just going to completely shut it down. Well, it was all that we had. All we had was the reservation to hunt on. I didn't have private land. We didn't have, land to hunt on. We just had the public land in the reservation. So 9/11 happens and they say there's going to be no hunting. Well, my dad, we're bummed. We're like, well, I'm not going to be able to hunt this year. And probably about 2 to 3 weeks after 9/11, they came out and said they would allow hunting on the reservation, but they would only allow bow hunting. They wouldn't allow any firearms to take place on the reservation, just archery hunting. So my dad went to Kmart and he bought me a PSE Nova. It was a little youth bow and it was in a box. It was like $90. And he came back
Where
to,
do you buy this at?
it was at Kmart. It was at
That's what I
Kmart.
thought you said.
Kmart,
You're
yes,
buying
sir.
PSE at Kmart. Man,
Yeah,
times
it
have
was.
changed.
Oh yeah, it was so far away, but it was a little bitty youth bow at Kmart he bought me. And he came back home and he said, "Son, I don't know how to shoot this bow. I have no idea about it." He said, "If you can put it together and figure it out, I will take you hunting with the bow." So I was able to sit down and figure this bow out. I had no peep sight. I had aluminum arrows that I got out of the box at like Walmart. I just picked them up because I didn't know what I was doing. I had some field points and I went out there and shot with no peep sight and just did the best I could and was actually able to hit pretty decently at like 20 yards. I could at least hit a little target. And that year, for the first 2 or 3 weeks, they eventually allowed firearms and stuff to happen on the reservation and hunting season commenced. But for those first 2 or 3 weeks, he would take me hunting and he would put me in a stand and he would just kind of walk around and try to maybe push deer to me. And that was my introduction to bow hunting right there. I shot at a few deer and then completely missed them 100%. But that was kind of my introduction into archery hunting was just 9/11. I say if I probably would have eventually found it because I did have buddies that were into it, but I wouldn't have probably found it as soon as I did if it actually wasn't for 9/11. So a horrible event that happened and obviously a very great tragedy. But if there was a good thing that came out of that is 9/11 actually got me into bow hunting. So a really, really strange story, but it actually is what introduced me to bow hunting.
Yeah, great story. We've kind of had some people on the podcast. I think I have about 8 podcasts recorded, and a couple of them have talked about, and I know how long it took me to kill my first deer with a bow. How long did it take you?
Oh man, it took me from probably 2001 when I first picked up a bow. It took me until 2000 and I want to say it was six. I was eventually able to shoot a doe with a bow. I have missed so many deer with a bow; it was unbelievable. But I was finally able to connect with a doe, and it took me what was that 5 years to kill one with a bow.
I think that's average. I know we don't have a lot of listeners, but as we grow, I might recycle these episodes. So if the younger people are listening, 5 to 7 years is pretty normal to shoot your first deer with a bow, especially if you don't have a good mentor. I think it took me at least 5 years.
Yeah, it was 5 years. I remember 2006. I was finally able to get one with a bow, but yeah, it was frustrating. I wanted to put that thing down and give up so many times. But I'll never forget actually being able to connect, because you watch videos and you're like, hey, these people are shooting deer, and I can hear that, that thump.
I was going to say that. Yep.
You hear that thump, and then I remember I was shooting, I just hear ground, or I'd hear air, and I'm like, I've missed. And when I was able to finally draw back and shoot, and to hear that, I was like, I actually did it. Oh no. And then to watch the deer run off, and she eventually expired out in the trees. And I'm like, there's no way I just did that. Wow. And yeah, that was something else.
Were you getting on deer or just missing, or did it take you some time to figure out how to get close enough?
I was on deer. It was just I was horrible at trying to draw at the wrong times, or getting nervous and not settling into a shot like you're supposed to, and just kind of shaking like this and just bumping the release and it just going haywire. A lot of it was just it was deer fever. I just wasn't settled down, trying to do too much too soon, trying to rush shots, just all kind of different things.
Little did you know, a mature doe is probably harder to kill than a buck.
Yeah,
But you're like, oh, I
absolutely.
gotta get a doe for my first deer.
I just wanted something. Didn't care what it was. Just wanted something.
Is that kind of what you're doing now? Is primarily archery?
Primarily, yeah. I still enjoy rifle hunting. We're out hunting now. Our archery season kicks in first to middle of October. And then we have in Alabama, we're about a week before Thanksgiving as far as our rifle season that kicks in. And then in Florida, where Thanksgiving Day is where our rifle season kicks in. But I'm primarily archery hunting, mixing a little bit of rifling during the rut, late season, January, which our rut's in January here, like January even into January even into February here is when our rut is. So we're so far behind any states. Really mixing in a lot of rifle sometimes towards the end, but it's primarily archery.
So if your rut's in January, when the bucks drop their antlers?
I've seen deer with antlers after turkey season. I've seen deer with antlers
Really?
into almost May sometimes. It's such a different deal from the Midwest or up north where they're rutting late October, January, or late October, November. We're so far behind that it's unbelievable.
We see some rut activity in January.
Really? Wow.
Around Christmas time, the rut has evolved over the years. When I was a kid, where I live, everything's flat, square sections. You could see out in the open cornfields, and the bucks would herd the does and just bed out in the middle of the open field.
Yeah.
And just last 5, 7 years, that's gone down quite a bit. And another impact is, and I don't know if this has always been this way and I just never noticed it, but starting to see a lot of bucks bed down, locked down with does in between that Christmas and New Year's, kind of the second go around.
We usually start seeing scrapes open up here probably into mid-December. You'll start seeing some stuff happen. In Alabama, our rut kind of pops off a little bit mid-January. Your second and the third week of January is probably when we're getting pretty peak and into your little bit at the end of January. Rut in Florida, I've seen deer chasing February 20th, and we're that late sometimes here. And it's really, I mean, I take that back. I've seen deer chasing in turkey season in Florida. I found fresh scrapes this year in Florida deer in turkey season here in March. And it's just such a weird time down here sometimes.
I wonder if I've heard that and just didn't comprehend, but that's basically the first time I've heard that. So archery starts around Thanksgiving, you said?
Our archery season in Alabama is the 1st of October, and archery season in Florida opens up about October the 20th, give or take. Right in there sometime is when our archery season will open up in Florida.
Holy crap. So archery's open for 3 months before the rut even kicks in?
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, you're able to hunt October, November, December, and even in Florida into January. And our rut usually is in Florida late January into February. You have that long to hunt before you're actually seeing any kind of rut activity.
Is archery closed by the time rut comes around, or people just throw the bow aside and grab the rifle?
It's usually a mix because you can archery hunt. Usually we have like a late archery primitive weapon down here. So you get that last few weeks where you can either hunt with a muzzleloader or hunt with a bow. But you can even rifle hunt. In Alabama, you can rifle hunt during the rut. Once our rifle season opens in Alabama, which is like I said about right before Thanksgiving, we're rifle season until the end, which is February 10th. You can rifle hunt all year long. It's odd for people that aren't from down here, like, wow, y'all can hunt that long, and you can hunt like rifle season's open for 4 months almost.
Imagine if you're Kiskies or Lakoskis, man, or Drury's, where you hunt every single day.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, I know.
Get a little sick of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have so much hunting time, and that's what I tell people. Like when we're done, my hunting season really just ended officially last Sunday, driving back from Oklahoma on a turkey hunt, and I've been hunting pretty much since October of last year. So that's 7 months out of the year that I've actually been either deer hunting or turkey hunting. And I've got cameras right now in different states and I'm still watching and planning scout trips to go out of state right now. So, I mean, it's really almost a 365, 100% day a year you're going and figuring something out.
What kind of scouting do you do for a lot of these out of state hunts?
A lot of it's just Onyx and trying to get intel off the internet. The place in Oklahoma that we
I'll smack you around, boy.
back me around, huh? The place we hunted in Oklahoma was just pretty much Facebook and internet pressure. I see it.
Makes your life easier, man.
I have to get on it. There we go.
We're still new, but our main advantage, we're out there, we have weather. The main advantage for somebody like you that's out of state is instead of having to swipe and find all your waypoints, you map everything. So you have your parcel boundaries, you click on it and you can save the boundary. Then you name it, and there's always a drop down arrow at the bottom of the screen. So you click on it, I want to go view Oklahoma. Boom, you're there. And
Yeah,
every time you save a property, it shows up on the weather screen too. We have a 15-day weather forecast. You want to check all your out of state hunts. Anytime you map a boundary, it's on the weather screen.
absolutely. Well, I'll download that here very, very short.
We still got some work to do to get on Onyx this level, but we will.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're always looking for the next best thing anyway.
They're a good app. So you have to do a lot of planning for some of these out of state hunts and all that stuff.
I'm very fortunate in my job now that I've kind of been promoted to a level where I work 4 days a week. So my work week is a Monday through Thursday. It's 10-hour days. I have 3-day weekends, but we're so far south down here that our out of states, you're pretty much looking at least a 7 to 8 hour drive just to get to where you might want to go. Well, I'm fortunate that I have to plan a little bit with the wife and obviously with work, but for the most part, I can plan a month out. Like I want to go here next month and I can kind of jump and go. Buddies of mine that I go with kind of have to have a little bit more planning than that. I'm a little bit more susceptible just to go when I want to, but it's pretty much I try to plan at least an out of state turkey and an out of state deer every year. So we just got back from Oklahoma and I'm already talking about out of state turkey hunt next year. I already know where I'm going this fall. So I'm already trying to plan for next year, and I've already pretty much got it figured out as far as next year deer, next year turkeys. Kind of, we're looking at a couple different states out west for a turkey, so we'll see.
And I'm just thinking about the circle life. So you support my app, I make money, buy property, then you start putting in points for tags, boom, bow hunting in Iowa.
Hey man, I've got 3 points in Iowa right now.
Do ya?
So oh yeah, Iowa's on the list. Believe me.
Which section you trying to get to?
I have no idea. No idea. I just know that I want to go where I want to go, and I haven't even started really looking into that yet. I'm just still playing the point game right now and trying to get there.
Is that how it works? Is you just get points for Iowa, and then once you get enough points, you can kind of choose?
From what I've read on it, is when you apply for the draw, you actually have to select like I want to apply for this unit. But a general point is just giving you a point for wherever, for the whole state. And then when you apply, you have to apply for a unit, I guess it would be.
So the episode that just dropped Monday, Seth, he is from Missouri, and it took him 6 years to get, but that was the primo Decatur County. You're talking the best hunting in the U.S. 6 years it took him.
It's a long game, especially, for our non-residents. We're just playing at the long game and trying to, wait and seeing, and we'll get there when we get there. So, but definitely a destination I am going to go to. I have to be a little patient with it.
If I were you, if it's going to take that long for you to draw and you can get some marginal Iowa ground in 4 years, if it's going to be every 4 years, what's another 2 years just to make sure you're on the primo ground?
Exactly. And there's so many over the counter stuff that I can kind of keep busy and kind of jump around and go different places and still have that built into that in my back pocket. So that's the plan. I know this fall is going to be Ohio again. I've been there this will be my third time, I think. This will be my fourth year in Iowa. So the fourth year in Ohio. And I think probably next year is going to be Kansas for whitetail.
You know people in Kansas?
I don't. It's pretty much just, hey, we're going to internet scout and see what we can come up with, and we're putting in and going. It's just really kind of doing a lot of the homework there and going.
Yeah, Kansas is definitely the worst state in terms of private versus public. I think it's less than 1%.
Yeah, I've heard that it's and of course looked at it, and there's a lot of There's a lot of lakes and there's a lot of small stuff. There's nothing really vast that you're going to come into where you can just walk for miles and miles. It's a lot of little bitty kind of broken up parcels.
Kansas might be better than Iowa. As somebody from Iowa, being a Iowa homer, I think Kansas might have bigger deer.
Maybe so.
Don't overlook Indiana.
I've heard about that. I haven't really made the jump into there yet. I've kind of done some preliminary just checking it out and kind of looking on different social media groups. One thing I've kind of done is if I find like a national forest or a piece of public land, I'll go into Facebook and I'll type in that area hunting because everyone's got a Facebook group. Everybody likes showing off deer and things like that. If I find a group and there's a group and I just see a lot of deer pictures, I'm probably going to maybe look to avoid that one just because a lot of people are hunting it. If I find a national forest and there's like nothing, then that kind of piques my curiosity a little bit because, hey, it's not as popular. Nobody's really at least posted pictures from it. It's a strategy that I've used kind of a few years going out of state just because I know around here we have probably, I can think of off the top of my head, 3 to 4 different little Facebook groups of people posting deer pictures from around here. I know it happens all over the country, and I try to run away from the crowd, so to speak. And that was really listening to Dan Infalt, just listen to YouTube video. He's like, if I go out of state, try to pick where there's nobody at. Try to pick less population centers and see what you can find. And if you don't see people talking about it, there's probably not a lot of people hunting. That could be bad too. Maybe there's no one there. Maybe there's no deer there. So that's why nobody's talking
They
about it.
might know something you don't.
They may. That's true too.
What's some of the biggest challenges getting on ground out of state? Is it knocking on a bunch of doors and walking away with your tail between your legs?
So primarily 100% public, so not really the door knocking thing. The only time I've really ever done door knocking is we tried to do it the first day in Oklahoma last week. We went into a spot that I actually deer hunted because I deer hunted Oklahoma last year, and we went back to the same spot and we sat on the edge of a piece of private. But I knew we had heard turkeys fly up when we were deer hunting there. So I'm like, there's turkeys or somewhere. And we probably heard 18 different Rio turkeys gobbling on the roost, but they were all on private land. And I found out who owned it, and we went across the street and found their house and knocked on the door, and a guy answered. But before he answered the door, there's like 18 different deer sheds laying on his front porch. And I looked at my buddy and I said, he's going to say no, he hunts this. And his answer was, I appreciate the offer and I thank you for asking, but I think I take care of it just fine myself. And I said, well, all right, we appreciate it. Really don't do a lot of door knocking. I'm primarily public land, so we're just kind of running around finding it. The biggest challenge, I think, has been trying to figure out how to hunt in different areas because everything's so different than what we have here. We're sand pines and scrub oaks, and it's a lot of scrub woods, and we don't have hills. We don't have really a lot of ag around us. It's a lot of trying to figure out, okay, can we do something that's similar to what we do here to get on deer? Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's just a whole different style of hunting. I mean, I've been to Ohio. I've been to Southern Ohio 3 different years, and I haven't killed a deer yet. But that's hill country hunting, and I don't have a clue about that. So it's slowly learned it. But yeah, it's sometimes that challenge is just trying to figure out how to hunt and what to hunt and where to hunt because you just don't know because it's so different than what I've grown up doing.
My hunting ground is 2 hours away from where I live, and I've always just gone up there because no competition. I have it locked down, but I'd like to get something closer around, and I've knocked on a few doors, but I'd like to do a little TikTok series, play the game. How many people am I going to have to ask to get permission? I bet it's 15 or so.
How is it in Iowa? I've heard that Iowa, there's a lot of outfitting and guides and people just buying up and leasing land. Has it gotten bad where you're at, or is it can you still door knock, you think, and probably get permission in a decent amount of time?
It's tough. I would say the first part, the outfitters, isn't that accurate. They're out there, but the leasing and just the social media, I think, is not necessarily everybody going out and leasing, but people are figuring out what their land's worth. There's more opportunities for people to list property, so that's definitely a big thing. But if you ever knock on door, I haven't done it near as much as you probably, but the one thing I've noticed is if you walk away after hearing no, that's a pretty definitive answer. But a couple of the best pieces of property I got permission on is they said no, and I just kind of brushed past it, just made small talk, got to know them, and they're like, yeah, you could maybe hunt it one day, get on there a little bit, come back with a big goodie bag, and then you're on it for life.
Yeah, it's a good, good tip.
Not saying just argue with them about saying no, but if you kind of show appreciation for their time and just kind of chit chat with them, a lot of those people just get kind of lonely, especially the old ladies. So if you could just kind of sit there and chit chat with them, they really like it.
Yeah, good tip.
It might take a couple visits back. I think it'd be cool to do a series, like But I asked 20 people, how many people do you think are going to say yes? I bet it's one.
Yeah, you could probably get it. I know around here we don't have a lot of ag, so a lot of your land around here is just not probably that great. It's just forested woods. And I've hunted around here so much that I've just gotten used to public land, and like I said, it's kind of what I love to do. So for me, I've just kind of not really strayed down that path too much. I've just kind of hunted the public and been happy with it. So
What are some of the biggest challenges with hunting on public? Is it big enough where you're not running into other hunters, or do you have the instances where you get out to your tree stand nice early, you're prepared, and some Joe Blow just woke up and he walks under your tree stand? Hey, what's up, man?
I think one of the biggest tips I could give anyone would be to almost hunt the people as much as you hunt the deer on public land. I will be honest with you, I don't run into hardly anyone all year long hunting public land, but I don't really go where a lot of people go. And if I see hunter sign, I try to stray away from it and go a different way, or I just try to go further than they'll go. A lot of our stuff down here in the South is swamps. You know, we have thick, nasty swamps. And if you can kind of push past the 100 to 200 yards away from the truck and get into a thicker area, sometimes those swamps open up. So if you can push past it a little bit and get in there, you're not going to run into near as many people. You'll run into one or two. I found a spot that I looked at on a map probably 3 years ago, and I'd found this little island in the middle of a swamp, like an oak island. And I said, man, there's nobody going into this spot. And I parked my truck and walked in there. And I get down in there and I get halfway in the swamp and I start finding little bitty like cat eyes, like little illumination. You hit it with your flashlight and it illuminates in the tree so you can mark your trail. And I said, surely this is old, right? And I get in there and of course I go about 2 or 3 more yards and I found a cut branch. And I get to the Oak Island, there's a trail camera. And I said, I don't know who this person is. I said, but he's dedicated enough that he's found this too. I said, so this is one you have to watch out. 9 times out of 10, you're never going to find that person, but every now and again, you'll find someone who's got the same mentality as you. But really getting away from people on public land, I would say hunt the people as much as you're hunting the deer, and you'll usually do pretty good. Everybody that I've kind of grown up with or that I've kind of brought into hunting or has known me and known that I've been into hunting will ask like, hey, you hunt the public land as you see a lot of people. My one tip has always been if there's people there, go somewhere else because deer are going to figure people out. Just find where the people aren't going and try to hone in on those areas and you'll be a whole lot better off.
How big are these public properties you're talking about?
The one that I hunt in Florida, the military reservation that I hunt down where I grew up in Niceville, it's hundreds of thousands of acres. It's a large piece of property. The management areas that I hunt up here in Alabama aren't that big, but there's still several 100,000 acres. I mean, there's a lot of land up here to roam around it. You can find places that nobody's really going and hasn't been for years. We're very fortunate down here where we don't have a lot of the small like little parcels that are kind of broken up where you'll see like a small 2 to 300 acre piece and then this piece is over here and this piece is over here. We have a lot of land that's expansive when you get into it. You know, there's hundreds of thousands of acres that you're dealing with. You have a lot of room to kind of roam around and find different areas.
What kind of access are we talking on a piece of property that big?
Down in Florida, you can pretty much drive a lot of the roads. You're using vehicle access and kind of parking at different roads. You can park and walk in, or you can just park and walk into a section off the side of the road. Up here in the management area in Alabama, you're a little bit different. They have a lot of their stuff where it's pretty much walk-in access, where you can drive some of your main roads, but once you get to like a parking spot or a road you might want to walk down, they've got a big gate and they've got it locked off. So you're pretty much walk access from there. And that road may go 100 yards. That road may go 3 miles. It's just kind of a little bit different as far as up here. You get a little bit more walk-in type access.
Do they let you use e-bikes?
In Florida, you can. There's a restriction on it, and I don't really know what it is. Alabama, where I hunt out up here, is no 100%. It's no motorized vehicles at all, and they consider that a motor. I think Florida, if I'm not mistaken, I think the law down there is it you can use them, but it's like pedal assisted, and you can only use them where you can drive a vehicle or on like an established road. I think I could be completely off with that, but there's some rule about a pedal assist you have to have down there. I've got buddies that have them. I don't have one, but I've got buddies that have one. They're coming along.
If you're getting out there that far, depending on, there's probably no trails to get a mountain bike back there anyways.
So I have one. I have just I think it's a Huffy mountain bike that I have, and I'll use it sometimes. I'll just kind of ride it around when I'm scouting or whatever, just to cover some ground. It can be a pain in the butt because it's a pedal bike. You're hitting soft sand and hitting things like that. So I've used it a few times, but I've never taken it deer hunting. I'm usually just walking when I'm deer hunting.
What's the furthest walk you have to make to a stand?
So down here, I would say one of my furthest is maybe a mile ish at the most. Yeah, not too bad. I mean, you hear some people like I'm walking 3 to 4 miles every day, and
Man, if you walk a mile in Iowa, you're at the other side of the section. You're at another road.
That's that's kind of the same thing here where you can walk a mile, but you're going to hit another main road that you can park a truck on when you get like a mile and a half through it. You can walk. Our walk-in sections are the areas where you have to walk in mile and a half wide at the most, and then you're having to turn around. You're going to hit another road before you have to, turn around and come right back out. So we're not as expansive as get out west and some of those places, and you can walk for days and not hit a road.
Southern Iowa's kind of the same way. It's just a lot of hills and stuff where not easy to get to some of the stuff. And it's good for growing big deer because where I'm at, a lot of cornfields. So after fall during the rut, if the deer are out feeding, people are gonna be driving around finding them.
Like I said, we don't have a lot of open space and ag down here. A lot of our woods are wooded, big tall pine trees and oaks and things like that. So we don't have a lot of the people riding the roads looking at big fast cornfields finding deer. So a lot of our deer are able to stay hidden for a lot of time where you're not having the road spotters and the road hunters and things like that. It happens occasionally, but it's few and far between.
I haven't traveled too much for hunting, and I'm not gonna share the story because the guy who took me hunting down there is actually coming on next week down in Florida. But best hunt I've ever been on, hogs with knives.
Well, there you go. Yep. We've got hogs down here and they're all over the place. Well, they're all over the place in Florida. We've been very fortunate not to knock on wood in Alabama up here in the management areas. We don't have them, but they've taken over down in Florida and I don't like it. But hey,
The biggest adrenaline rush I've ever been on.
I've never done the hog hunting. I've killed hogs. Obviously, I've never done actually the knife hog hunter. I've never hunted them with dogs and things like that.
And it's dark. Oh, I want to go do it again so bad.
People love it, man. People absolutely love it.
Out of all the years you've hunted, what are some of the favorite memories? Are there any hunts that got you hooked or changed your perspective on hunting?
Yeah, just because it's over my shoulder right here, that turkey fan, that was my first turkey I ever killed, ever, 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 ever. And it wasn't probably 4 years ago, maybe like 2021. I've tried turkey hunting. I was horrible at it and probably still am, but first turkey I ever killed, I ever called in myself was right there, that fan right there, right there. You see it?
Took you long enough.
It took me long enough. I know, Jesus.
I've only killed 1 or 2 turkeys in my life.
Remember getting out of the truck that morning and just heard a turkey gobble, and I'm like, all right, let me go see what I can do. And I walk down there, and he's on the creek, but he's kind of on the roll of a hill where I can't see him, but I can hear him just walking back and forth gobbling. And I had a Woodhaven slate call, and I called a couple of times, and he answered me. I'm like, all right, he's coming. So I set my stuff down, and I picked my gun up, and he kind of walks away from me gobbling. I'm like, what the heck? So I hit it again, and he gobbled at me again. And I turned, he turned and came back to me. And I remember he kind of popped his head up over the hill, and I'm like, oh no, there he is, like 20 yards. I'm like, oh no, there he is, and was able to shoot him, able to get him. And I'll never forget just when I shot him, he's doing the flop, and I'm just like walk up to him, and I sat down, and I'm like beating the ground. I'm like, I finally did it. I finally did it on my own. And because I first turkey I ever killed. And I think that's the one that kind of got me hooked where I'm like, I love it. Because before I had turkey hunted, but you get frustrated with it so easily. After doing that, I'm like, I actually did it on my own by myself. I can't believe on public land in Florida. And so getting to harvest that turkey was actually really, really cool. And that's one of probably the hunt that I would say that changed my opinion of turkey hunting. And now I'm traveling out of state to turkey hunt. Before I was just kind of doing it as it came to me and was sometimes ready to be done with it.
What style of turkey hunting are you doing when you're traveling? Just locating, getting out there, staying still? You doing run and gun? You doing the reaping?
So I've never done the reaping before. Pretty much just the same thing we're doing here in Florida, just kind of a run and gun kind of a deal. In Oklahoma, just getting back from Oklahoma, hunting Rios out there, it was way wide open, and it's more of almost a spot and stalk out there where you can hear them off the roost and kind of get to them, but you don't have a lot of opportunities to move on them simply because there's no cover. You're hearing birds gobble and you can pick your binoculars up and they're at 600 yards and they're out in the wide open walking around and you have nothing to hide behind but a hill. Trying to figure out a little bit of a spot and stalk mentality out there to them was way different than doing it here where you're kind of got some cover and you can move on them a little bit. Primarily the same as what we're doing here, but you're more spot and stalking out in Oklahoma.
There's no fooling a turkey's eyes, I can tell you that.
Oh, absolutely not. We got so lucky out there because, like I said, we ended up killing 2 Rios. I got one, and my buddy got one. Right place, right time. We had the one I killed where we're sitting beside a fence post in sagebrush, and we just had the roll of the hill just right where they kind of got around us, and I was able to turn. I don't know how I did this. I was able to turn to my left on this fence post with no cover, and this bird standing in the wide open at 40 yards and was able to shoot it. I don't know how he let me turn that much, but we had a decoy out, so maybe that's what it was. We had a hen decoy out, so maybe he kind of had distraction a little bit. And then the one my buddy Garrett killed, he's sitting behind a bush. He's laying down on a hill behind a bush that is probably 6 inches tall. And this bird just runs out. It was a decoy thing again, just a hen decoy. He just runs out in the wide open. It's 45 yards and just folds him up with a 20 gauge of all things. We got so lucky out there doing that, but it was a really fun hunt too. But definitely for turkey hunting, that would probably be my most memorable turkey hunt, 100%.
If you like to travel a lot for hunting, what's on the wish list?
I want to do the Grand Slam. After being halfway right now, my goal was to go do a Rio in Oklahoma. I didn't ever think we'd do it on public land, and we're both me and my buddy Garrett were able to do it. We're halfway to a Grand Slam. It's next probably going to be Merriam's and then Osceola or vice versa, but it's probably my Grand Slam. Public land turkey hunt is probably going to be one of the goals on the wish list. I don't know that I want to go elk. I know everyone says they want to go out west and do an elk hunt. I don't know. I'm still there. I'm not sure. Obviously, my goal is whitetails, and it's Iowa is one of my wish lists for Iowa. One of them is probably Iowa, and I'm not sold on elk just yet. I know everyone like wants to go do the elk hunt and things like that. I don't know that I'm there right now, but we'll see.
Turkey over elk. Listen to this guy, man.
I'm just all in on whitetails. And the reason I say a turkey org is my buddy Garrett, who I travel out of state with. He's been elk hunting twice, and he's been to Colorado. I don't know which unit he's even going to, but he's been out there and hasn't actually seen an elk yet. So whatever unit he's going to doesn't have a lot of elks. Maybe that's why I'm not sold on it, because I actually know somebody that's been twice on out there and just hasn't even seen one yet. So I'm like, he's tried to get me to go with him, and I told him whenever you can go and you see one elk, I'll go with you. But other than that, you spent a lot of money on tags and haven't even seen one.
If I ever go, I'm just gonna commit to it and know it's a once in a lifetime hunt, and I'm just gonna go with an outfitter.
Yeah, and he's going public land up in somewhere in Colorado. I don't even know where, but he's going public land, and it's a tough hunt. It makes for great pictures and great scenery when he goes, but I want to see an elk, is what I told him. I think that's probably why I've shied away from an elk. I know everyone probably says that, but actually having a buddy that's been and done it and had to talk to him, like, ah, man, that's a tough one right there. I don't know.
That and a mule deer would be pretty cool. I'm not very stealthy, so I don't know how I'd be at the mule deer and antelope and all that stuff. If this podcast ever takes off, I'm gonna make a lot of connections, so hopefully get out and do some of that stuff.
100%. Yeah, I'm still big on the whitetail stuff. I've been to Ohio 3 different times and haven't harvested one yet. Hadn't filled a tag. Hopefully this year is the year in Ohio. And then I've got Kansas I'm probably looking at next year. Hopefully Iowa's coming in a couple years, and just kind of go from there. I just love hunting so much. As I told my buddy one time, my buddy Garrett, I said, if you can pick a spot on a map and say, I want to hunt there, I'll probably go with you. No matter where it is, I'd probably go.
If you draw Iowa, let me know. I can't guarantee I can get you on some ground, but I can get you in the right direction for some public.
100%. Yeah.
Actually, there's pretty good public where I live. It's on a pretty good sized river. Nothing like the Mississippi, but one of the bigger rivers in Iowa. It's kind of one of those things where it might be a couple thousand acres of public, but it's a lot of bluffs and stuff, and you gotta hike to get to where nobody else is, but it can be pretty good hunting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely keep in touch. Probably as far as deer hunting, and I'll kind of spin around here because I am sitting in with a bunch of deer heads. If y'all can see, spin around a little bit here.
I bet your wife loved you.
Oh yeah, she loves it. I've got a Rio turkey is going to go on the wall here for too long, so she's real excited about it. Probably that deer right there on that side right there. I would probably have to say for him is probably one of my most memorable whitetail hunts, just because it was an archery hunt. It was in Florida. He's not a really, really big deer, but he is an 8 point. He's from down in Florida on ground I grew up on, where I grew up hunting. And one of the first deer that I was ever able actually to get on a trail camera and then kill him in the same spot. We went in and scouted that area and hung some trail cameras and actually had a really, really, really good buck on it, like a huge deer for Florida. And he got killed on the side of the highway. Somebody actually poached him off the side of the highway before deer season.
So you're saying he got hit by a car?
No, he got poached off the side of the highway. A kid unfortunately chose to do that and ended up getting charged with it. Me and my buddy were bummed because we're like, man, our deer we were after him. We had trail cam pics of for 2 months now is gone. But we still had some decent deer. And I had this one right here on camera and went in and actually hung a stand, was able to, I think it was the third day of the season for him. I had a 4 point come through and I had a 4 point behind me, and I'm turned around because I'm just looking to harvest a deer. I have 4 point behind me and I'm like looking at him, and he turns and looks down the creek and he just keeps looking past me, and he's looking straight down towards the creek. And I said, "What?" And I kind of was able to turn just enough. And when I turned, this deer right here is coming up the hill. And I said, "Oh no." And I turned around, and I don't know how I drew on him because he's standing wide open, but I was able to actually draw on him, and I was able to shoot him at 15 yards. And he took and run off. And I was shaking so bad I couldn't even get out the tree stand, but I was able to. And I had to call a buddy, and we came and tracked him and found him probably 40, 50 yards from where I shot him at. He was laying dead, and was at the time my biggest bow buck I'd ever harvested in Florida. It's probably one of my most memorable right there. I had killed deer with my bow, but never nothing that caliber right there. So that was 2012, I think, is when I killed that deer. So actually, that was probably my hook of, I can actually do this bow hunting stuff, and it's really fun, and it's all I want to do because, sometimes I'd hunt with a bow till I got frustrated, and I pick up a gun. And
That one behind you looks pretty nice.
yeah, that's actually my dad's deer. So I actually
Oh, I'm
show that
sorry.
off. No, it's actually a cool story. I'll kind of see if y'all can see it on camera. I'll spin around so you can kind of check it out like that.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah, that's a deer my dad killed the year I was born. And it's really a fun. I have it because my mom actually got tired of it being in her house. She just got tired of looking at it. So she said, "Will you please take this deer?" I said, "Sure." So I took his deer, hung it here at the house. But what's actually even cool is I've got the deer head. But if y'all can see, I don't know how good you can see that picture. I'm trying to get you in frame here. But that's actually a picture of my dad and his four hunting buddies. And that my dad's in a blue shirt right here. And that's me. And I'm like less than a year old. So
Little baby Josh.
yeah, so he's holding me with his three buddies, and they're taking a picture of the deer he killed. I said, "What cooler than that to have at the house is to have his deer and to have a picture of me and where I got my hook to hunting right there hung up at the house." I thought that's actually really cool.
You were a born killer.
Absolutely, man. So it's cool to have that one, and I've got a few just all around in here, turkeys and European mounts and things like that. So yeah, my wife, she told me I could have one room in the house, and I said, "I want this roof." So
Give me the biggest room you got.
absolutely. So yeah, I've got this room. Even when I killed the Rio turkey last week, and I called her on the phone and I said, "Hey, I killed a turkey," and she's like, "Okay." And I sent her a picture of the fan later that evening. We got back to Airbnb, and she said, "Where's that going?" I said, "Game room." She's like, "We don't need any more." I said, "Yes, we do. It was fine."
You gave me one room.
Yeah. And I killed a 6 point this year with my rifle, and I've got it European mounted in here. And she said, "We don't have any more room for any deer heads." I said, "There's plenty of room in here." So I can move all kind of stuff around and make plenty of room in here.
There's a lot of empty wall space, man.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, we got room for plenty more. Plenty more.
Since you started hunting at the ripe age of 1, how has hunting evolved since your younger years compared to what it is now in terms of technology, camaraderie, competition?
So I would say that the camaraderie's always been there. I mean, you see that picture right there. I'm fortunate that I get to do the same thing now that my dad was doing, where he's got his three buddies and they were hunting together all the time. I have a group of buddies and we're doing the same thing. It's just kind of an evolution, but it's the same thing that they were doing. Definitely technology and the tools that we have to hunt are way more advanced and way better than I had when I first started out. I mean, I started out hunting in wooden ladder stands built with 2x4s and a 12 gauge shotgun with a bead on it. And now we're hunting with $1,500 bows. And I've hunted exclusively with a tree saddle this year, or the last 3 years actually. I've hunted with a tree saddle, and I started out from wooden lock-on stands and wooden ladder stands to climbing tree stands, and now I've got a climber and it's sitting upstairs. So I've evolved from that to a tree saddle. And obviously the social media has evolved to everyone showing stuff off, and the technology as far as apps and things like that, like Logic Hunt and like different things like that people can go on and see, hey, I can hunt here and this is public land. When back a long time ago, we had paper maps and we were just trying to figure it out the best we could. It's definitely evolved and it's almost easier, which is a good thing, I think, is getting people involved in it and definitely getting more people out there. I'm probably one of the few people that won't get mad when people are like, "There's too many people hunting. I'm tired of all these people around everywhere." I've never been that way. I think that's awesome that people are getting introduced to the outdoors. I know how awesome it is for me, and I know what it means to me to be able to be hunt and to be out in the outdoors, and I want everyone to get to experience that. So I think it's really cool that all this different stuff's coming in to make it kind of almost easier in a way to get people introduced into hunting.
I have this conversation with a lot of people. Do you think the hunting television shows and the social media has kind of ruined it a little bit? It kind of turned into a little bit of a pissing contest, who could shoot the biggest deer.
Yeah, unfortunately, I grew up with like Jackie Bushman and Bill Jordan and the Realtree Outdoors people and the Buckmasters, and those are awesome. They're great DVDs and VHS tapes and TV shows, but I never related to those when I was a kid simply because of the fact that they weren't me. They're hunting farms and they're hunting, all these stands and seeing all these deer. And I remember my dad always telling me, he's like, son, that's not real hunting. That's not what we do. We hunt the public land. Sometimes you're lucky to see one deer in a week. I never related to those, but it's so cool now. You see the hunting public or you see Dan Enfeller, they're talking about hunting public land and struggling. It's so cool to see that. But on the flip side of that, I think you're right. You get Instagram and social media, and everyone's kind of doing it for the likes and the stuff like that. I've strayed down that path a little bit, where I was like, I want to post everything on social media and show off how awesome this is. And I kind of shied away from it. Where sometimes I don't post anything. I kind of got back into it the last couple of years, where you'll see me post like if I harvest a deer, or just cool pictures and just share stuff. I definitely don't do it for any kind of clicks or likes. But I think there are some people that are in it for the wrong reasons, that all they want to do is, I have to kill a deer. I have to kill this big deer just because I have to show it off on social media. And I think anyone that's doing that is doing it for the wrong reasons, because it's not anything about killing to me. Killing deer is almost anticlimactic in a way. Like, it's fun and I love doing it. And I love killing deer and I love killing turkeys. To me, it's about who I'm with and being out there with people, because I still remember like how I was when I was a kid. Like, all I wanted to do is go out with my dad and hunt and just be out in the woods, hang out with your buddies in the woods or around a campfire at night, or you're sitting there enjoying a sunrise from a deer stand. Hell, there's nothing better than that. There's absolutely nothing better than that. It don't matter if I went to Oklahoma and traveled 14 hours. I got to sit on a ridge top and watch a sunrise in western Oklahoma. Prettiest sunrise sometimes you'll ever see in your entire life. And at that moment, I didn't care if I killed a turkey or not. I could care less. I was just enjoying being out in the woods. I think we could get back to being that. And I think sometimes in my social media, I try to show that off a little bit. Like, hey, just look at this. I don't, doesn't matter if I kill anything or not. That's the end of it. But it's the enjoying being out there, and it's the process along the way where you're out scouting and you're walking and just enjoying nature. I almost enjoy the scouting and the process of it more than I actually do the killing, in a way.
Like you said earlier, it's a nice little getaway.
Yeah.
I feel like one of my buddies in a previous episode talked about how, so we're 36, and 20 years ago, people would congratulate you when you shoot a big deer.
Mhm.
Now people almost get pissed off when you shoot a big deer because they're hunting next door and they wanted to kill it. It's their deer.
I've seen it, and I've seen it around here because hunting public land, well, and there's a lot of people that do, but I have a lot of people that I listen to and I talk to, and I've seen it where you'll see someone shoot a deer like, well, that ain't really that big of a deer. It's just a little small deer. I want to pass that deer.
It's not old enough. It's a 200
Yeah.
inch deer that's only 4.
Yeah, who cares? If you're happy with it and it makes you happy and you're fulfilled, do it. I get just as happy sometimes just harvesting a doe, just because, hey, it's a doe. I'm happy. I can eat. You know, it's meat in the freezer for me. I love it.
How's your wife like the freezer full of venison?
She loves it. She does not. Her only rule is she does not want to hear about it. Because I have come home and I'm like, man, this deer walked out and it was standing broadside, and I'm like, yeah, I had to wait to shoot. And she told me, she said, look, it's there, and I know it's there, and you've cleaned it and it's processed. I don't want to know how it died.
You should have seen all the blood coming out
Yeah,
of this thing. It was
exactly.
so
Yeah.
cool.
Exactly. And then she's had to tell me that. I don't want to know how it died. Just I know that it's there and I know that we're going to eat it. She loves it. She loves deer meat, but she just says, I don't want to know how it got here. Just I know that it's here and you got it. Congratulations. That's all she said. I just have to learn not to share too much with her. Now, obviously, my buddies, I'll be like, it was standing right here and it ran off and it was bleeding all over. Yeah, she don't want to hear any of that stuff. So, but she loves to eat it.
Do you share your embarrassing stories with her?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'll tell you a great one that's actually topical and recent, as most people do. And I hope people try it once, but it's really cool to film your hunts. I started this year. I just got a little Sony, like ZV-1, I think it was, just a little camera that I'm taking with me.
Is it the ZVE10?
It's the one with the zoom lens. It's not the one on the vlog style lens. It's the one with the zoom lens. I think it's the ZV. It may be the ZV-E10.
That's what I'm using as a webcam right now. You can zoom it on the camera, or there's a little toggle on the lens that'll zoom in and out.
Yeah. That one. So I was using that one to run. I was using that one as my main camera, and then I've got like a DJI Osmo action camera that I'm using as just like a second camera. And I started it this year and just started kind of fooling around with it. And I pretty much filmed all year, and I've edited some stuff out. I've got some stuff I want to put together, but I'm actually going through I'm actually trying to finish my master's degree right now.
Good for you.
sometimes school takes up a little bit, but I want to jump. I'll be done in August. So after August, I can jump back into trying to like edit some more next year and kind of get some stuff just put out. But I'm not concerned about likes or views. I just do it for me just because I like doing it. But I was able to have it with me and took it to Oklahoma because we deer hunted in Oklahoma last year. So I took it to Oklahoma, was able to shoot a doe on camera, first deer I've ever killed on camera. So I come back to Alabama and we're still in muzzleloader season in Alabama. And I'm like, I'm going to go out here and just try to harvest a doe. I need some deer meat, so I'm just going to go try to shoot a doe. I have a doe walk by at probably 35 yards. I've got this deer centered on camera, like I'm in perfect frame. Deer doesn't even know I'm there. And I pull the trigger and I've made the biggest miss on camera. I haven't missed a deer this bad in probably 15 years. And I missed this deer. So they didn't even know I was shot at. It just stared around as I'm looking. And I actually put it out on YouTube, but I said several expletives as this deer's running off. I'm like, what the? And so I'm like, how did I miss that? I'm like perfectly centered right there and just to miss on camera. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? So that one was pretty fun because this shit was recent. I remember back a long time ago, I was a kid. This just tells you how much we've evolved with technology and tools and tree stands. But a long time ago, my dad told me, he said, just climb an oak tree. You can climb an oak tree and sit on a branch up there, and that can be your tree stand. Okay. So I'm probably 12, and I thought it'd be a great idea to climb this oak tree where I found this deer trail at. And I made it to about 12 foot up the tree and came tumbling, I say, my butt out of that oak tree and landed on my butt. And that was the end of me climbing oak trees for a little bit. No one was around to see it, thankfully.
You're just climbing it or
Yeah,
the ladder?
no, I'm just climbing. It's an oak tree. I'm just climbing branches.
What do you think you're Tarzan or something?
I guess so. I don't know what was going on, but yeah, that one was great. But I've got my dad's not here to defend himself, but I'll tell this story because this is probably the funniest story that I actually have. One day, like everybody does, we're going to stop and go hunting. We're going to stop, take a pee first, kind of release the bladder a little bit. We're going to try to get ready to go hunting. So my dad's like, all right, go take a pee real quick. So he walks over to the edge of the woods and he's taking a pee. And we're at the truck. I'm putting stuff on. I see him turn around. He's got his pants zipped up and he's walking back to the truck to grab his orange vest and his gun. And he starts yelling as loud as he can, just yelling. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's yelling. He's like beating the crotch of his pants. He's like, no. And I'll never forget. He unzips his pants and like pulls his pants down in a yellow jacket. It's out of his pants. And it had stung him right on a very, very sensitive area down there. And once I figured out he was okay, just because I want to make sure my dad was okay, but once I figured out he was going to be fine, I've never laughed and cried so hard laughing at him as he was when he zipped a bee up in his pants after he was taking a leak in the woods.
You got to listen to the episode that dropped Monday. We each share story with Yellow Jackets. God, they hurt.
Lord. Oh yeah, he was tore up for a while. He was able to laugh about it after about an hour, but it was not a fun hour for him. I couldn't do anything to help him. I'm just laughing. It was great. Oh Lord, it was great.
At least he got to feel well endowed for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, he did. Absolutely. Man, I still laugh about that. I still give him heck about that to this day.
Running from a swarm of Yellow Jackets. I imagine he was probably peeing on their nest or something.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I didn't see him. I just heard him start screaming when it happened. Yeah.
Did it get trapped in his pants or something?
Yeah, I'm like underwear and pants, zipped it up, pulled it up, and yeah, the whole deal.
God, they hurt.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've unfortunately been popped with them a few times. I actually got stung with them at work. I was at work as a cop. I'm on duty, and I walked off from the edge of the woods and I stepped in a nest of them and got both legs full of them. This is years ago. I'm not allergic to them. They just hurt a whole lot. Yeah, they are very painful. Luckily, we don't have them often down here, but I mean, you'll see them occasionally. A lot of times that we get like hogs will actually dig up nests. If you see them in the ground, like a yellow jacket nest, you'll find like the comb laying in the ground where a hog has kind of rooted it up and dug it up, or armadillo or something like that. So
good deal.
You'll see like nests destroyed down here. Yeah.
It's the worst because you don't see them coming. No, normal wasps, they come from above you.
Uh-huh.
These ones, they come from the ground and they swarm you.
Oh yeah, and they hurt. They burn so bad. I know the night I got stung at work, I came home and unzipped my boots, and I actually couldn't get my boots off because my ankles were swollen up. I got so bad on my legs.
Through your boots?
They were just my legs got, yeah, they were above my boots, but it was just because my legs got so bad with them. They were just everywhere.
The welt I had was at least this big around from one sting.
Yeah, they were bad. I was in pain. Luckily, I'm not allergic, so I didn't have to go to the hospital or whatever, but I was just in pain for a day or two.
And then it's just a week of solid itch, at least for me
Uh-huh.
anyways.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, just 100%.
Well, cool, man. Well, it's been fun chatting
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's been great.
Sure, we'll be in touch. And for all our listeners, if you want to spread the word, get your buddies out there, and maybe we'll have you on for an episode. Until next time, keep your boots dirty and your aim clean. And we're done. Thanks again for joining us on another episode of A Hunter's Legacy. Remember, hunting isn't just about the harvest. It's about the journey and the legacy we all leave behind. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with all the other hunters in your life. And if you have a story to tell, we'd love to hear it, because every hunter has a legacy worth sharing.